Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 393. My name is John Morgan, and Cold Coffee is with me in this incredibly weird week of mixed martial arts where there is, I'm not going to say no major mixed martial arts because I will be on the mic at CFFC this weekend, but dude, we don't get these very often. No UFC, no Bellator, no One Championship, no PFL. I mean, it's kind of a laid-back week. I guess this is our off-season.
Yes. I was going to say another thing you could put no tears are being shed by me about this weekend not having any fights.
It's just a wild one, man. I mean, like I said, I'm an idiot, and I'm still going to be working, and I'm going to tell everybody about that card, and I hope they will tune in on Saturday night and check out CFFC.
I mean, I'll put it on because, I mean, especially if there's nothing else going on, you know, like, why not? I mean, it's still better than, you know, watching a rerun of some other whack show or something. Like, you could watch college ball during the day and then watch fights later on or something.
It's just weird that there's nothing. Like, it was everything last weekend and nothing this weekend. It's
What's nice because I'm off today. I'm off tomorrow. I'm off the day after that. I'm off the day after that.
Look at that.
And then I think the day after that.
That's amazing.
So
it's like a little mini vacation.
It's like a little mini staycation. So yeah, I'm gonna get some steps in. Go get some work on my little suntan. Of course, it's the end of summer and the end of the year. But
all right, can we just point something out? By the way, getting your steps in and getting your suntan. Can we tell everybody where that's happening? Because for years, Cold Coffee always busting my chops talking about how I live way out there where the zombies are.
It's true.
How I'm out there in the middle of the desert.
It's true.
How I'm so far away from society.
That's
just busting my chops. And I was always telling them, bro, I love my neighborhood. I think you would like this area, man. It's a nice area. And you were just going at me all the time. And now, who's using my neighborhood amenities? Cold Coffee.
I'm still looking for the zombies out there. I'm sure they're out there.
I'm about to tell the homeowners association to start sending you a bill over here, man, because you're over there using my park all the time.
Well, to be fair, your park, your housing's on the other side of what is that? That whatever street. I don't want to say what street it is because I just thought about it. I was like, I shouldn't put your street.
It's Mountain's Edge. It's okay.
You know.
I don't mind.
But no, I mean, it is a nice city park, you know. But it is, it's beautiful out there. I mean, it's that the ball fields that they have are like legit, like super nice. They're the nicest ball fields I've seen in Vegas.
Those are only like a year or two old, maybe. The baseball fields are only
grass, like legit grass. I'm like, what a waste. But I'm like, how nice is it? Like
super
when I was out there walking on Saturday. There were like one game after another was going in, and I was like, man, if I was a kid and lived here, this would be the perfect place to where you could play like all year round if you were trying to play baseball.
Because I grew up playing baseball, but I grew up on kind of the rough fields, you know what I mean? Where like the all dirt infields and like in the grass was all
nasty. The grass was like it wasn't like it was like one type of grass. It was like grass and weeds and whatever grew up in the area or something. But dude, it's super nice. But yeah, I mean that park out there is really, really nice. So yeah, I've been going out there looking for the zombies.
But props on you, man. I'm busting your chops a little bit for using the park, but I need to use the park more. But
you should be.
You're talking about. I mean, yeah, it is literally footsteps from my house. I can literally walk to. It is funny because I have walked that trail. I think that the trail's like what, like a 2.5 mile loop, and you're putting in like 5 miles or something.
Yeah, like if you start on the one and you walk through the trail and then walk around the park and then go back to like the start. Yeah. It would be easily probably 2.5 miles because one pass on the trail itself that kind of goes in and out is 1.26 miles, and then if you take that and then walk around the other part of the park, which is really, really cool, has like some like different weight equipment that you can use, and then a bunch of cool stuff for kids. That's like another half mile sort of loop, and then when you walk down the street to combine it to where it starts, it is legit about like a 2 mile loop or something.
It's not, and it's like you said, it's kind of cool because it's like through the desert, so you get a little bit of the scenics of the mountains and stuff like that. But then it comes back around through a park or whatever.
Yeah, because there's a whole part of it that's not developed on the side. You can see where some of the houses, like across from your neighborhood, you could see like those other new houses that sort of popped up, and I'm sure eventually others. But you still have like at certain points a clear view to the mountains and stuff.
It's nice.
So it's super
cool,
nice.
It's a nice thing about living in Vegas. There are during the summertime. I still like to champion Vegas. I know it's not as cheap as it used to be for people, but it's expensive now. But it's still as a place to live.
We still like it though.
We still like it. I'm locked in on a mortgage, bro. I'm good. Yeah. I'm good. But I still recommend it for people. But it is stuff like that, man. A lot of the public amenities and stuff, they try to do a good job. job
Yeah.
of keeping them.
I mean,
but
especially-
props to you, bro. You're out there doing 5 miles. I just want to give you props for
Well,
that.
I appreciate it. It's funny because a lot of people, it's one thing too if you live here. I mean, because everybody's always like, "What is there to do that you don't spend money?" Well, it just kind of depends on what you want. I mean, like if you're trying to get out in nature, there is some to get here where you don't have to go far out. But I can see where some might think like, "Oh, this is not very exciting" or whatever. But there are different hiking trails. I'm gonna hope to see some of them. I'm gonna try a new one that Old Fiasco suggested for tomorrow to try to get some steps in out there. But I mean, it is, and now this time of year, this is getting the time of year that we always tell everybody once it gets in October. So I mean, it's still nice and warm outside, but it's bearable.
Yeah.
It's like I think when it was earlier when I got out to the trails, it was like 80 something, and that feels fantastic. But you got sun out, and it's just beautiful. So yeah, I mean, it's great. So on these days off when we don't have to do any sort of fights, there's nothing that we're pressing. I'm not skipping a media day or whatever to be able to get out in the sun and just enjoy this. It's great, and it's just like last week when everybody was freaking out because they couldn't be at the Apex. To not have fights, that we have to, and just be able to look at stuff. I miss whole seasons of other sports. Like all of a sudden, it's just like a playoff. Like college football already is in week 4 or 5 now, and it's just like. What happened? I've watched like one game.
If it's a season of anything that takes place on Saturday, I ain't watching it. I don't know anything about it.
It sucks because I love college ball. I love college ball. I like college football more than professional football. It's just I think part of that too is because I used to work in college sports, and I think just the drive of the athlete trying to do it. They're literally laying everything out there trying to make that play that they know will live on in college lore forever. You see great, wonderful plays in the NFL all the time, and then it's forgotten like the next weekend.
Right.
You see something that happens usually in the college level, and it's such a big deal. That shit lives on forever, and that school just boasts it forever and ever.
What about I was going to say, does the fan base do it for you too? Because it's a different thing, right? You know what I mean? Like
different. And what's neat too is, I guess part of it being for when I used to work at Ohio State, I loved our fans and I loved being like on the ground and seeing the students and let alone the adults and all the fans that went there got so into it that they were just diehard that it's hard to not get. It's kind of like what we say about the UFC when you go to watch the events. It's hard to not get caught up into the atmosphere and have that elevate the experience as well. So it's one you're watching. The action on the field, but then when you're getting caught up and seeing everybody get so excited about the plays, the anticipation, that it just amplifies it all and it just makes it so much fun. But yeah, I feel like in the college level sports, that's more so. I mean, not saying that you don't have your crazy fanatics in the professional sports, but it just feels more honest and real when it's like at a collegiate, because if somebody's it's easy to be a professional sports fan. It's a little bit more of a diehard, I think, when you're able to say, I follow this college sports team. They're not even getting paid, and I'm like, I'm diehard this, You're extra hardcore if you're a big, college sport. And everybody's got their teams, man. And it's like, I have my pro teams that I love, but I'll ride or die Ohio State till the day I die. Like if I had to pick a team to put on, my gravestone, it certainly isn't going to be the Browns. As much as I like the Browns, it's going to be the fucking Block O Buckeyes. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but yeah.
All right. So while you're out there being healthy and enjoying your days off, I'm kind of dragging ass a little bit this morning. I'm a little bit tired because I stayed up a little bit too late last night. Sleep is important. And sleep is important. You hear all the experts talk about it, man. And I'll tell you, when I do actually prioritize my sleep, I feel 1,000,000% better.
Yeah.
But last night, I stayed up a little bit too late because I thought I could get done with a series that I've been binging on. But I found out when I went to bed around 2 o'clock in the morning, there were still like 2 more episodes to go.
Okay.
And so I was like, I just got to go to bed.
That sucks when you're so close.
Yeah, I got 2 episodes left, but I can't stay up past 2 a.m. I was like, I got to get some sleep because I got to work tomorrow. But I'm kind of ashamed of it. But I'm deep into this Dahmer thing, man.
Everybody's been raving about it. I haven't watched it yet, but everybody was like,
Scott McCrate was one. I believe in our last weigh-in chat, because over at the Underground when we do a weigh-in video, we talk to people. We interact with people. It's a community. We're chatting it up. We're hanging out. We're talking about some fight picks. And Scott McCrate said, like, it's creepy as hell, but it's good. And that is. So I gave it a shot, and I'm telling you right now, it is a show that you sure as hell don't want to watch around kids. That's for sure. I made sure Eli is all in bed before that goes. I haven't even watched any of the episodes around my wife. I've just been watching it all myself, and I think I feel better that way. It's a creepy ass show, and I feel kind of guilty about watching it. But dude, I think I remember the name Dahmer when I was a kid, but I think
Yep.
I was too young to really A, remember the details, or B, to like care maybe that
Yeah.
much at that age. That dude is a straight up whack job, and the story is insane. And I've heard some people say it's not exactly the right story, but I think based on
Yeah.
historical evidence. But again, it's almost like I feel guilty watching it, but it's bizarrely gripping, and the dude that plays it.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
Oh my God, that dude is like straight up like it's crazy that dude is actually a normal human being in his real life. So
Yeah.
I know you got a lot of things going over here at the Costa Cold Coffee. There's not and you're in the middle of training camp, bro. So you're always putting in these hours. You're out here doing ultra marathons in the park and stuff like that. So I don't know if you watch TV anymore, but I'm gonna go ahead and say, even though I feel a little guilty bit about it, and even though it's incredibly bizarre, and you might just want to watch it by yourself and not with a loved one, and definitely not with the kids, the show's it's pulled me in.
Yeah. What's crazy is a lot of the kids, especially, I mean, Dahmer was beaten to death in 1994 while he was in prison. It's 2022. A lot of these kids that are all big social media, I know what's going on in the world, I'm so with it, have no clue who the fuck Dahmer was
Right.
and what he did, and like how grossed out and how just mind blown that we were when that shit happened. So let's see, he was apprehended in 92, so that was the year I graduated high school.
So I was 14 at the time, so that's kind of that blissfully unaware
Yeah,
of
I mean,
news.
you were still like,
I heard the name, but not really like paying
attention to it or whatever. And yeah, I remember it was so bizarre. But to think that I guess it would be silly to not think that they would revisit that story. They've done it to everybody: Jack
Right.
the Ripper, Ted Bundy, all the crazy fucking shit that you're just like, I can't believe this existed. And then we're able to look back when time is sort of put a little bit of time between it, so then you could look back at it and maybe not be so like, no, we can't talk about that right now.
Right.
We can't talk about it right now. But yeah, there's something freakishly about pure evil like that
Ugh.
we're able to look back at some point and then almost be entertained by the fact, because enough time has passed and a lot of people don't remember what it felt like at that time, that they can separate the fiction or the representation that they're seeing on TV
Yeah.
separate from what they remember reading in the papers and seeing on
But
the news.
it's so weird because, like you say, the word entertain, and like I don't feel like I'm entertained.
Yeah.
But I feel like but I can't. It's like a train wreck. Like I
Yeah.
can't turn away from it, dude. I'm like, I
Yeah.
shouldn't be watching this, but I can't turn.
You're
it
definitely
off.
not the first person. I've heard multiple people talk about it. Like they're like, dude, why am I enjoying watching
Yeah,
this
why
so
am I
much?
watching this?
It's
Like, turn it
bizarre.
off.
But think about it. Didn't Dexter kind of give you the same shit? But this is what's different about this is that this was real life. Dexter was so bizarre. He was a serial killer
Yeah.
that would mutilate, cut up his victims.
But Dexter had that that angle of it that is always for good,
It's all
right?
bad
It's all-
guys. But still,
you know what I mean?
You're
Like he's picking
glorifying
out
and
the bad
rooting,
guys.
and rooting for a serial killer that mutilated his
Yeah,
victims.
but he's got good reason. Like that dude was a jackass, man. You know what I
He
mean?
beat his woman. You know? So it's so bizarre. But you're right. I mean, like I thought about watching, but I was like, man, I need to get in the right mindset. But I haven't pulled it up. But yeah, I still vividly remember what it was like when they caught him, and I remember it was just crazy. Kind of like him and like when was Unabomber? Unabomber couldn't have been much after this or right around that same time, because I remember I felt like at the time when we were kids, I was like,
Why are there
I was
so
like,
many
yeah,
psychos
why
in
are
the
there so
world?
many psychos like just doing crazy shit? But yeah, Dahmer was fucking gnarly, man.
It's crazy. So I'm blaming Scott McCrae for this. It is but it's bizarrely enthralling. I won't say entertaining. It's
Every
enthralling.
time I open up Netflix, it's the first
right
thing
there.
it says, and it says it's the number one thing. So you're not alone. Like everybody's watching it.
Oh man! All right, so this past
But
weekend you talked about
We
not
watch
being
people get beat up for a living. So I mean, are we really? I mean,
dude, this dude is a whack job.
That's
Like
probably-
it's terrible. It's absolute. I don't even want to go into it. It's terrible. Listen, this past weekend, so you mentioned it, man. It was kind of funny, right? Like, I was the one that was not complaining about not being able to go to the Apex. Because of that, I got to go check out the event at MGM Grand Garden Arena, the Shaquille O'Neal Foundation. $3.5 million raised for charity at this event, which is pretty cool. And they're actually building a big Boys and Girls Club facility here in Las Vegas with the money. Shaq, man, to his credit, dude, it was really cool to see Shaquille O'Neal work in the room and going and talking to all the VIPs and just handling business,
and he never
helping to raise money.
He never showed up to the Apex.
Oh, it definitely didn't have anything to do with that. It definitely didn't have anything to do with that. That was a Zuckerberg only. But yeah, it was wild. But it was a fun night, and it was cool to see all that money raised.
John, I'm glad you came.
Dude, he was thrilled to see me there. It really is like, now the night is complete.
The night is complete. Yeah. Big John Morgan, come have a drink with me.
Too funny, man. But dude, so check this out. So, like I said, $3.5 million raised. You know, a lot of it, like, people were buying tables, of course, and then of course they did a live auction, and two different guys paid $140,000 a piece to play horse with Shaquille O'Neal.
Holy shit.
Yep. To play. Shaq is like, you can come to my house, I'll come to your house, wherever you want to do it. We'll play a game together, we'll hang out. And it got into like a bidding war, and I think it got up to like 150.
Do you know what they do?
No, I had no idea who these people were. I mean,
that's baller.
There was some clear money. Yeah, when you can drop 140 G's on playing horse with Shaq. Well, so it was cool. So
it's one thing. They're like, oh, it's charity, but bro, you're paying 140.
Still a lot of money. It's a tax write-off. It's charity. But it was funny because they got to, like, they were going back and forth. Like it started. I think it was at like 60, and it was gonna like stop at 60, and then like another dude was like, it was like going once, going twice. The dude was like, all right, 70,000. It was like 80, 90.
Who was doing the
auction? It was
the auctioneer.
They brought a dude from Sotheby's to do it, man. Okay. They brought like this English dude from Sotheby's. So he was like it was ready to be done, and then they got into it, and they got up to it, and it was like 140, and finally the one dude was like 150, and the other guy was like, all right, that's it, I'm out. And Shaq was like, hold on, let's do this. Instead of you paying 150, since you guys were, let's do each of you at 140, and we'll do two of them. And they were like, all right. So right there, it just doubled it to 280. They were bidding
Shaq's
on
face
one
when they were doing it.
Oh, he was enjoying it, man. Yeah, they're bidding over a chance to hang out with him. So yeah, it was crazy. But $3.5 million raised, and to Shaq's credit, and he said it in the interview if you heard it last week, but he said it again. He was like, anything we raise tonight, plus what I throw in, goes out. Like, there's no administrative fee. You hear a lot of that sometimes, like charities, and 20% of it's gone or even more. You hear about, he's like, no, if the money's raised, it goes straight to the cause. There's no like administrative fees or this pays salaries, whatever. It goes straight to charity. So
yeah, I check out, there's a place called, I think it's called Charity Navigator. There's like a few different sites. That's one of the ones that I'll go, like, and it rates charities, and it usually breaks it down to like what their overhead is, because so many, it's hard. You get that, there's that immediate rush of your heart when somebody's like, please give to this. You're like, okay, that sounds great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times, if you do a little research, some are better than others in terms of how much of that money actually goes to what you want to donate to.
Yeah, like, it turns out like only 72 cents on the dollar goes, which is still not bad, but it's like,
it's better than nothing. But there's better ones that are usually. So yeah, I mean, I would suggest to anybody that wants to give or whatever, just research the place and make sure it's getting the best value or whatever, so that doing. But dude, so that's crazy. So just out of 2 games of horse, he got
$280,000.
$280,000.
Not crazy?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was pretty wild to see the amount of money that was.
Was that the biggest thing that you remember?
It was. Yeah, there was a bunch of other stuff. There was like a trip to Africa that went for like $70,000. There was one that was kind of good. I didn't think. I mean,
that sounds so much better than a game with Shaq.
Right, I know. Like,
for half the cost.
A week-long safari to Africa. There was one that was pretty wild. I was actually telling my wife, and it's weird to say this. I'm like, that's actually kind of a good deal, but I mean, good deal. But it was a vacation to Mexico. I can't remember what city it was, like Cabo or something, but it was for 20 people, and it was 2 private villas with like a private chef for the week and all that, and it only went for like $60,000. I was like, 20 people, that's $3,000 a piece. Now, not that that's cheap, but a private villa in Mexico, you got a private chef to help prepare meals for you. I mean, I don't know if I could get 20 people together that I'd want to go on vacation with. Like, that might be a problem.
But if you're a company and you're like small, like back in the day when the UFC was super, super tight and small, they could have just been like, yep, we'll do that.
There we go. So
and throw in that Africa and throw in up a game of basketball as well.
Just do it all. We'll do it all. Yeah, pretty cool. It was neat to see, man. It was neat to be a part.
That's cool.
I had never
How was the concert?
Concert was good. You know, everybody came out and played about a half an hour. Boy, I tell you
that's
what.
good.
Yeah. So, Maroon 5, Pitbull.
How'd they sound?
Pitbull opened it up. Maroon 5 was good. You know,
Yeah.
it was kind of at first. I was like, he sounded a little rough right at first. I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, he's hurting right now. You know, he's
'Cause
in the news.
I don't think
he's in the news for some bad things. Well,
Yeah,
not bad
and I don't
things,
think
but-
I don't know if they played or anything because a lot of times a bands come out for
Yeah.
the tour, like if they haven't
Yeah,
toured,
yeah.
and then they get together for these charity things,
Yep.
and then you're getting the pre-tour version or
They're a
the
little
hey,
off
we
or
haven't
whatever.
toured version.
No,
in a while.
they sounded pretty good, man. At first, I thought like the first song sounded a little rough, and I was like, is he hurting? Because you know his name's been kind of dragged through the mud lately. But
What's he been doing?
so apparently, a lot of
I'm Googling
you haven't heard the story. So a lot of women have come out and said that he was like DMing them stuff like while his wife was pregnant, and
Oh,
it's
man,
been
she's
kinda-
pretty too.
yeah. So I don't know the whole details of it. That's just basically what I know is that he was sending some illicit emails and perhaps even having
Well,
an
shame
affair
on you, Adam.
while his wife was
Carrying
pregnant.
wow, she's
Carrying his
gorgeous.
child. But I'll tell you
Jeez.
who I saw for the very first time, who I was not aware of the music, and I'm just going to go ahead and give. I mean, granted, I only saw half an hour, but now I want to know more. And granted, as I say this, I just know how old I'm sounding right now. But have you seen this artist, Her?
I've heard of it.
I've heard the name too,
Yeah.
right? But I didn't know.
Yeah, I've heard the name.
This girl is awesome, man. She came out and she's lead guitar and lead singing and rocking, dude. Like playing some good stuff, man. I mean, beautiful voice, shredding on the guitar, and then at one point goes and sits down on the drum kit, man, and starts rocking out on the drum kit and playing drums while she's singing lead vocals and stuff too. So if you haven't checked out Her, that was the first time I had seen the music. Very good, man, and she was like super, super talented. So pretty cool stuff.
Oh yeah, I recognize some of these song names. I don't think I've ever seen her perform, but
She
I
did like
recognize some of the songs.
She did like a Lenny Kravitz cover. I
Yeah.
mean, she was
Very
fun.
cool.
She was fun. I definitely enjoyed it. So it was good. It was good. All right, listen. There is some MMA to talk about. What
else is going on?
What else is going on in the world? Let's talk about it. How about these elections in Brazil, man? Are you?
Man, what about that new ruling party over in Italy, man? What's going on
Are
with
you
that?
believing that? How about that? Did you hear the Queen died? No. How about Wonder Boy and Kevin Holland ending his lengthy retirement? I know you had probably reached the point that you felt we're never going to see Kevin Holland fight again, but no, it turns
Man.
out the retirement is over. He's facing Wonder Boy, and what's your take on this? Because I think
Much better matchup than his last fight.
there you go. I like the matchmaking. I like the
Much
matchmaking.
better fight.
I like
Much
the
better
matchmaking.
fight. Yeah, I mean this would be great. I mean this. What I think we always love about Kevin is we like his striking. We like to see him in there with strikers, and he's gonna get that, you know. And it's crazy because he'll be the dude that if there's gonna be somebody trying to initiate a takedown in this fight, it's gonna be Kevin,
Right.
as opposed to
Right.
somebody else. No, I think it's great. I just hope the ring rust hasn't really settled in. You know, from his last fight, it was so long
From his
ago.
lengthy, I mean, when you walk away that long,
You know, I'm not sure if his gloves are dried yet. No, it's gonna be good. I mean, and boy, that's gonna be like a fun, wholesome like fight card week. I mean, like it's gonna be nothing but like good things being said by their opponents. You know, there's not gonna be a whole bunch of shit talking
Right.
that week unless Kevin's just having fun because I've never heard. Steven ever go in on somebody, especially like even in anger. I've never seen the dude even get mad.
no, and
It's gonna be a pretty wholesome fight week.
I can see, yeah. For Holland, I think with a guy like Wonder Boy, I think it'd be like 10 memes, or maybe the worst is calling him like Big Bird or something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where it's like something's it's
He'll
just silly.
try to poke him and get under his. He'll probably say something about Mr. Miyagi. Where's your Miyagi or something? And he'll probably go Karate Kid on him and just find something to tease him in some sort of fun way. But no, I mean, as in terms of fight, I like the fight because I mean, every time we see a fighter that gives an opportunity for Wonder Boy to kind of do what he does, which is what Kevin's going to do, but it also allows Kevin to get back. And Kevin, I think after that last fight, needs a confidence booster.
Yeah.
As much as that might sound weird, but to try to say, you know, yo, you didn't lose anything, you fought the guy that nobody wants to fight, you know, which is true. But I mean, he completely just got manhandled in there. It'd be hard to not doubt the growth that you had been putting in that work after that performance because it got to a point where it seemed like there was nothing he could do. He held off for as long as he could, but it was inevitable.
Yep.
And this is a guy that we'd seen, do crazy, amazing things off his back and other shit. He had no answer, and that's what we've seen over and over again in there, and it was just sort of crazy to see it. So you got to think that had to do something to his mentality. I mean, it was enough to drive him to retire.
Yeah, and I
quote
think
retire.
I was going to say, quote
whatever.
retire. Like I don't think many people this was very much a thanks for the cheese retirement. Like there's no way you're done. We know you're coming back, but it would not have shocked me to see him take a little bit of time. I think I'm kind of glad he's getting back in quickly and try to, December's relatively quick, you know what I mean, and try to put this behind him. Because it was kind of wild. Even Dana kind of mentioned that, right? In the when we asked him about it in the press conference, like, yeah, well, you lose a fight like that, it does some things to you, and it makes you question where you are, it makes you question where you stand, and
how could it not?
It has to, man. Like that was, and so I think stylistically, this is like the perfect fight, right? Because like Wonder Boy is not shooting in on you regardless. I cannot imagine. And listen, so it's a pretty big fight for Wonder Boy as well, man. Wonder Boy, he turns 40 in February, man, and he's lost back-to-back fights to Bilal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns, who obviously are top contenders right now. But I think this is one of those kind of telling moments for Wonder Boy as well, because I'll be honest with you, I kind of get surprised every time I look up and I see, like, wait, he's still number 7 in the rankings right now? Like, that's crazy.
That
like,
is kind of crazy.
It's been, just because he doesn't fight real frequently. He hasn't had a win in a couple years because he had the setback. But again, the setbacks were to Burns and Muhammad, who are right up there at the top. But I think this is going to be one of those moments for Wonder Boy where we find out, I guess, kind of what he's got left in the tank, like how much further he wants to go. Because if Kevin Holland comes in and I don't want to say handles him, but yeah, maybe, if he's able to shut him down, if he's able to dominate the performance, I think at 40 years old, Wonder Boy's got to start thinking about, is my time in the sport done,
It's hard to not think. I mean, like, the fact that he's been able to do it is a testament to how good shape he is in, and I think not taking a lot of damage. And I mean, but yeah, I mean, when you look at that age, I mean, like, that's well beyond when most people step away from the sport,
right.
So good on him. But I would think that this is the kind of fight that he wants. One that's still a guy that he just fought a huge high-profile fight, a guy that's always kind of been bouncing around the top of the division. So, I mean, it definitely shows that, Wonder Boy's still there at the top. But if I was Wonder Boy and looking at kind of thing, I would want to make sure that these last fights are the same sort of deal. Like, don't give him a grinder that's a guy that's known for his takedown. Not when you know that I mean, let's be real. I mean, I love Wonder Boy, but Wonder Boy's not going to get the title ever at this point.
Unfortunately.
So I'd rather he have the fights that he wants to stick around for a little bit longer and do what he needs to do. I mean, this is that kind of fight that I would like to see him. But, unfortunately, like pure strikers, there's not a lot left at the top that are just striking guys.
No.
Everybody is so well balanced at this
point. That path's
point.
not there anymore.
Yeah, it really, really isn't, But no, I mean, I think this fight's going to be great. I mean, I think it'd be good to just kind of see it. I don't know. I think normally I would easily pick Kevin in this one, but part of it, and this is why I think I overthink it sometimes. When you wonder where somebody's head's at, maybe his head will completely be fresh and he won't have any doubts left in his mind after that last performance because he knows that the person across the cage from him isn't going to be trying to take him down. He's just going to go in there expecting to have fun, no pressure. Like the only pressure happens in the last fight. But if he takes Steven lightly, that could be a mistake as well because Thompson's still dangerous. But think about Wonder Boy. I mean, we don't see him just one shot drop people. It's a lot of pitter-patter, a lot of shots that build up that gets him the win by the end. I don't think he's going to knock out Kevin. I don't think he has – I don't want to say the power because that sounds wrong, but Kevin's tough. Kevin has taken crazy shots. I mean, I would lean towards Holland initially, but my only reservation is just where Kevin's head's at. How serious will he take this one? I mean, is this just a matter of just him wanting to get back in there, shake the ring rust off of his long retirement? Or is he just like...
Just need to get some rounds under you, man.
Or, at some point, his whole mind could have changed where it's just like, I've done the title thing, I'm doing whatever. Now I just want to get fun fights. I just want to make some money because maybe the whole idea of stepping away after that last one, it's changed what the sport what he wants to get out of the sport. If it's just about getting in there and getting paid, it doesn't matter if you win or not.
That's true. I wonder, I've said this story before, but it just occurred to me again. I remember, Brian Stan talking about training with John Jones.
Yeah.
When John Jones would come in like still drunk from the night before and just manhandle him, and Stan would be like, "Why am I doing this sport? Like I can't." And I wonder if Holland and Hamzat was kind of one of those moments where you're like, "Oh, I ain't never gonna be." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When there's guys like that around, like I'm never going to be at the top, and so, but then you realize, hey, I can still come back and not be at the top and still make some money.
Because he's been to the top.
Yeah.
And he always, well, not always. Other times when he was right there at the top, he failed.
Right.
And this was another instance. How can that not sort of put something in your head to where you're just like, okay, I realize my limitations.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
There's
like,
nothing
not
wrong.
everybody's going to be a champion.
But it's hard to deal with that. Like that's
Yeah.
the psychology of this sport, man, is so
Yeah.
tough because like you're going out. Like a lot of people say, oh, well, just hang around because you can take some big paychecks and make some big money or whatever. It's like, yeah, but it sucks to go get your ass beat in front of people and to
Yeah.
know that you're inferior. Like unlike any other sport where maybe you can stomach losing a game, but man, our team lost, but I thought I played really good today. This is like you just got your ass beat on national television. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not. It's demoralizing.
And unless the money's really, really good,
Yeah.
I mean, like, you still, I mean, is it worth it?
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, taking that damage over and over and over, you really want it to be worth it, but also, it's those lasting scars that you don't see. That's the stuff that kind of weighs on them. Like, I mean, they'll recover from the bruises on their faces, the bruises on whatever, but I mean, the bruise, to that ego and
Bro, it's big.
that other sort of stuff. I can only imagine what that really does. But I mean, especially because a lot of these cats, to do what they need to do, their mindset is completely different than all of us regular human beings. They're like superhuman in the fact that for them, that drive and that entertainment to want to get in there and push and then take those strikes, take those punches, but to do that and actually face real harm, but then, you think you're going in there and you're unbeatable and then have somebody completely just prove you wrong.
Show you that's not the case.
How can you not just be like, what have I just been misleading myself this whole time? Have I just been crazy? Have these people around me just saying, are they all yes men? Are they seeing something that I'm not seeing or something? But who knows? But I like this matchup. This matchup, I mean, it's the perfect one because I think it's going to be good for both of them. I mean, I'd like to see them both go out there and just sling and bang and just,
Let's have a high-paced draw.
like, yeah, which would be cool.
Let's put on
which
5
would be
great rounds
cool.
and take a draw.
And then we could just be like, don't bring them either one to the presser. They're fine. Just send them home.
go.
Just transport them. We're going home.
All right, let's talk about another one that really interests me, right? This Aspen Ladd signing to the PFL. And it interests me in so many ways because, first of all, I think Aspen moved to the PFL. Once we found out that she was no longer with the UFC, I think it was pretty clear that was going to be a pretty easy move for her to make, would be to the PFL. They're snapping up big names right now. I think they love the fact that they can have people that are in world rankings, on their roster. That
Did you think PFL
something.
was going to take her over Bellator? You thought she was
Well,
immediately going to?
no, that's a good point. Bellator could have made a play too. Bellator
Yeah.
definitely could have made a play
thought
too
they
because
were-
they've got a really good featherweight
I was
division
going to say,
as well.
that's why I thought they were at least in the running, but, maybe not. Maybe it wasn't even.
I think the idea of the way that anybody looks at that PF, I mean, it just has to be enticing. Like, I can go get $1 million. Like,
Yeah.
now again, everybody's going to sign up looking for $1 million, and
Yeah.
only one's going to get it, and it might not even be the new ones.
And the million's just the bonus
Right.
at the end. They're still getting paid
Along the way.
decent amount of money along the way. That's what we were always saying about like Kayla. Kayla was getting nice money, but then
Yeah.
that was just that, hey, take this nice little bonus check home, I think a lot of people forget about that. They think like, oh, they're just working towards this $1 million. Oh, what's going to happen if they don't get it? They win all that time. It's like, well, they're still getting paid.
No, people are negotiating
Yeah.
really nice
They're getting
contracts
really
with the
good
PFL.
ones.
So it's a good place. But
Yeah.
all right, so here's the things that interest me about it. First of all, the press release. If you saw the press release, it was very careful not to mention a weight class.
I was going to say, they have a catchweight division,
Yeah,
Mister?
oh wow, look at you. It was very careful not to mention a weight class. However, Aspen Ladd did come out and say I'm not going to 155. So that leads you to believe it's got to be 45, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, she can't make 35 4 times in a year. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not being mean when I say that, but she tells you the cut's hard. We're seeing it. Okay, she can't make 35 4 times a year. Can she make 45 4 times a year? Yes, I definitely can. Now, so I think it's going to be clear that she's going to be 45. Now, what I'm seeing a lot of people saying, yep, they had to bring in some talent for Kayla Harrison to fight. Kayla Harrison is not going to. I don't think she's going to be in the tournament. She's told me this. She said, I don't think I'm going to be in the tournament again next year. It just doesn't make sense. Like, if I win this year, if I win 3 in a row, like, she said it's hard to fight 4 times in a year. The weight, she doesn't cut weight to get to 55, more than a pound or two. So it's not hard for her to make weight. It's just, it's draining, especially she's a mom now and she has the schedule and all that. So she doesn't want to fight 4 times in a year. What she wants to do is fight maybe like twice a year, but also have control over the matchmaking so that it's not like she ends up fighting somebody where everybody goes, oh my God, who's Kayla Harrison fighting again? Why are they just giving her these people? But in a season format, in a playoff format, you don't get control over the matchmaking, right? The brackets are made for you. So she wants to have like super fights. But I don't believe Aspen Ladd is going to come over and want that super fight because I think she's going to want to go for the $1 million. So I could be wrong in this, but I don't necessarily think Kayla Harrison and Aspen Ladd end up fighting each other next year, if I'm being honest with you.
I mean, one, I'm not excited about it at all. I think Kayla just goes in there and just manhandles her.
Kayla's on a different level right now.
She's a total different level. That's everybody.
So
but, maybe there's something with that, too, because I don't know. It's kind of weird. As you were just saying that, I was thinking, like, well, man, if she's trying to ask for crazy money, I'm sure she tried to do that before. It didn't work out. She wasn't able to go to the UFC. She wasn't able to go to wherever because the money wasn't working. So she stayed where Bellator is, or stayed at PFL. So if Bellator's not coughing up the money, if the UFC's not coughing up the money, does she think that that's going to change?
Well, she had if you remember the exact details of it, and some people might not remember, so I'll lay it out. She had a contract signed with Bellator. Bellator did come out and pay her, and from what I understand, put in some clauses that they thought PFL wouldn't match, because they have to match it.
Yeah.
And PFL was like, no, we'll match that. So from my understanding, and Kayla already had a bout agreement signed to fight Cyborg in Hawaii, and she thought for sure it was done. And PFL said, no, we're gonna pay you.
But I mean, if that's the case, I mean, if they know that PFL is going to stay the highest bidder, I don't know why she wouldn't just stay and just keep taking that money.
To her, I think it's important to her from every conversation I've had with her, and I'm actually supposed to go out to Florida later this month and go check in with her, but that it is important to her to walk away as the greatest ever. And if that means she still wants to get paid for it, but she wants those matchups. Like, she is aggressively pursuing the Cyborg matchup. The Nunes matchup, I don't know if that'll ever happen. And again, now we're talking UFC, and that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
But I think she'd at least like to get this Cyborg matchup.
I guess I'll ask you this, and I'll gauge your reaction. Would you care, or would you be upset if you never saw Kayla Harrison fight in the UFC?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think I would. I think I would be. I think I would be. But it's starting to gosh, it's so hard because, I mean, with that division especially at 45, there's probably better fighters outside of the UFC.
Right.
I think I would like it just because the UFC is the most recognized promotion. And I think for a big portion of the fan base, if you're not fighting in the UFC, you don't get the recognition that you deserve. Now, I think that's wrong. There's great fighters everywhere. So I'm torn on that, man. I feel like there's better fighters at featherweight outside the UFC than there are in it. Well, see, that's the thing.
Like, I mean, I think that's the case. I think especially for somebody in our situation, like, if I know that the better fighter, she's going to get another fight in another organization, I'm cool watching that particular fight.
Yeah.
Like, me personally, I don't care if she never goes to the UFC.
The only reason I care is because I think that she might not get the respect that I believe she deserves if she doesn't do the UFC.
True, I could see that from like the casuals or people off.
But
to
for
the
me
side.
personally, like, dude, I love the UFC can't put on fights every night. So if Bellator could put on, I hate when they're all on the same damn night, and I can't watch them all. But like, I love like this one championship being on Friday nights on the Prime Video, and then Saturday I got this, and I love it.
You see, Prime got Thursday night NFL football now.
Yeah.
I saw that. I was like, man, Prime is really making some moves, man. But I don't know. Maybe it's this. Maybe this is weird or whatever. I feel like for so long there was just the chatter of where's Kayla going to go? Is she going to go here? Is she going to go here? I think I started getting numb to it to now I was at the point where, like, I don't really even care anymore.
Just want to see the biggest fights.
I just want to see a good fight, but if I don't see her fight, I don't care almost as well.
I would agree with that.
There's just so much. Maybe it's just because there's so many fights and there's so much other stuff. There's so many storylines that I think when you hear the same one, like, oh, she's not happy, she's going to stay here. She's not happy, she's not getting whatever. She's getting paid, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. There's this other crazy story. I feel like she's, for me, is drifting off into the periphery, and that doesn't mean anything like in terms of like how good of a fighter she is and how dominant she is. I think there's just so many other stories that now that for so long that anticipation of where she's going to go, now I've gotten my brain's kind of gotten tired of it, that I don't pay as much attention, that now I've found that I don't care anymore like what's next for her. Maybe that happens every time we hear a fighter's name thrown in our face over and over and over. At some point you're just like, bro, there's 1,000 other fighters that are currently fighting right now.
Right.
Like, you can't give all your energy to just one. So that's when I was asking, like, does it matter, like, if she ever fights UFC? Because honestly, I don't care. I like when a fight happens somewhere.
I'll watch her fight wherever she fights.
That's why, I mean, for her, if she's getting the money, I mean, like, poll every media person in the world, and if they say that you are one of the greatest in the world, it doesn't matter where you're at.
I agree.
You know, like,
well, you're coming from a true MMA fan, which realizes that there's quality MMA happening everywhere.
Right.
It's not only. It's not only in the UFC where quality MMA happens. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
that's why it's always when people say, "Do you train UFC?" It's like, bro.
All right, so let me
smack yourself after you say that.
So here's the other part of this whole Aspen Ladd thing that I find really intriguing. Right, is that if what we're assuming is that she's going to go do this tournament and she's going to do it at 145, was that not an offer for her to compete at 45 in the UFC? Like, were they?
I know that they offered. Well, we heard them say that they offered it, but they always turned it down. Is what I always remember hearing, was that her team and her were like, no.
I had her
because she felt like she was undersized.
So maybe this time they didn't come back because she had turned it down before. They didn't offer it because, hey, you said no before. So
I mean, you got your walking papers. Do you want to work or not work?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
how hard do you stick to your guns if you have nothing to hold on to?
So maybe you're okay. Because guess what I was trying to figure out was this some kind of indication of what the UFC intends to do at 45? But I had forgotten that you're right. In the past, she had said, I don't want to do 45. So maybe they didn't even broach the subject with her this time. Like, because I thought behind closed doors, wouldn't you come to Aspen Ladd? Because again, Dana could easily throw her under the bus. Yeah. He didn't. He said nice things about her, right? He could have easily. He didn't. But he did say, but you got to make weight. But so if he's not going to throw her under the bus, then he clearly has some respect for her skills. So couldn't you come to the team and be like, guys, we're done at 35. It cannot be at 35 anymore. What do you think about 45? And at that point, if they say, no, we're not doing 45, we believe we're bantamweight, then you go, okay, well, bye, because we don't think you're a bantamweight. Well, so I wonder if that's what happened, or I wonder if they didn't even bother. Because what I was wondering is this an indication that the UFC is going away from featherweight if they wouldn't even offer it to her? But I kind of had forgotten that they had tried to get her there before.
I wonder if it's just more her specifically, because as far as we know, when she's had issues in the past, they were like, this can't happen again. You need to go to 45. And they're like, trust me, we'll never fail again.
Right.
We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to make 35. And they said, okay, but that's on you. And if you fail, that is it. This could have been that time. This could have been the straw that broke the camel's back, you know? And so if we're over here like, oh, man, I bet they could have offered her 45. Like, bro, it probably already happened. And they were like, dude, you need to go 45. Trust me. Give me one more shot. And then she does it again. At that point, you got to be like, is it really on you to be like, well, let's give her another shot.
Right.
And that 45 is like, I told you, and you said that you had it, and then you didn't. And then now you want us to like, and now you want us to like save you again. You know, we have a whole other roster of fighters that are
you're probably
doing
right.
our suggestion.
I think you're right. I think this is specific to her, not specific necessarily to the featherweight. I mean, not that they're necessarily aggressively hiring featherweights, but they are still booking some featherweight fights. But I thought maybe it might be an indicator that, like, dude, we're not adding anybody else at featherweight. Like,
which is kind of weird. I wonder if they keep 45 around just so that people don't go straight to the other organizations.
I feel like the only reason they keep featherweight around is just so that they can have Amanda Nunes as a champ.
Which makes a
lot
of
sense.
You know
what I mean?
Too.
Like a marketing thing.
But I mean, if they only said like, okay, we're only going to have 115s, 125s, and 135s, that excludes a lot of girls that would go elsewhere. Where I think they were like, they probably think like, well, we can get those ones that can go 35, maybe 45, and keep whatever. Because then, I mean, you're going to start having a whole crop of fighters that just immediately that are coming up are going to start looking at like Bellator or like PFL if that 45 carat doesn't exist in the UFC. I think it kind of It doesn't hurt him to keep the division around.
Right.
All it does is annoy them when we say, "Hey, what's happening with the 45? When are you gonna fight 45? When's this belt gonna go?"
It's just such a weird.
But
thing.
it is weird. But
I mean, dude, it's so weird. Like you go to the rankings, like their rankings page, and it's just like Amanda and nobody else.
Yeah,
like
it's ridiculous.
So bizarre. But even Bellator, by the way, Bellator rankings are down to like 6 people at 45. Like they don't even have enough to fill out a top 10. So they just do top 6. It's weird.
Do they actually call it the top 6?
No, it's just like they because I vote in those. Like I vote in the UFC. I vote, but you go to like the Bellator rankings to vote, and there's just
can't you just pick 4 other people?
There's only 6 people. Now they just have the people that are in the division that are there.
Yeah.
That's all there is. It's so weird. So like they don't even have a full 45 division either.
Do they have any 35s that used to fight at 45 for them? Maybe throw honorary,
throw
throw them back in there.
Yeah, and that's weird too, because like I know like Macy Chesson, who struggles a little bit to get to 35. In her last camp, her last media day, she was like, I think we should be able to fight back and forth. But I do get why, and it would be nice in terms of it would keep the fighters busier. They could take more. But I get why like Dana and the matchmakers don't like that, where it's like, well, what impact does this have in your division if you're fighting outside of your division? What does this do for the rankings? What does this do for the hierarchy? How does this move things forward if you're just like bouncing up and down?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I
and if you're gravitating towards this 45, like if you're already heavy knowing that you want to be able to drop down to 45, that's kind of keeping you out of the running of a 35 if you're normally staying higher because you're already thinking you want to gravitate to the 45.
Yep.
It maybe lessens the chance of them being able to reach out to you because it's gonna be harder for you to drop that extra 10 pounds because you're thinking like, oh, by the way, I was hoping you'd give me a 45 fight,
Yep.
But I could see, you would think that would keep them busy. I mean, if you're getting fighters, you want to get fighters fights, you want to get them in there. You would think having the possibility of them to be able to go between 2 divisions would leave the matchmakers with their mouths watering because they're like, hell, we can get through these contract deals. We have more people, but I could see where it's maybe a little bit more of a hassle because then, somebody's spending too much time in one particular one, and then that bantamweight that you brought on, is over here thinking he's a featherweight now, and you're like, well, shoot, now I can't really even consider him a bantamweight anymore, So it does make it a little bit tough because I think they want to put everybody in their slot on the Excel sheet. This is this guy. When was the last time I gave him a fight and not have to think like, oh, shoot, should I try to give him a 45? Should I try to do this or whatever? But I don't know. But I'm glad Aspen's fighting. I hope I hope this is
can't miss at 45.
You really can't. And I mean she's fun, she's tough, she's gritty. I just hope that this keeps her fighting, and I mean I hope this isn't one of those things where, she starts doing well and she's like, oh man, I really wish I would have made this decision years ago when I was still fighting in the UFC, fighting whatever. But
that would be crazy, right? She just like wrecks shop at 45, and you're like, "Why didn't you try it?"
That would be a lot of fun.
Comes out and smashes everybody, smashes Cyborg, and then you're like, "Why didn't you do this?"
That'd be a tough one too. Even though Cyborg's not the same anymore, but that would be an interesting fight. Because shoot, God, I'm having a brain fart. The girl that they brought in to fight Cyborg, who was much tougher and almost. Fuck it, I might pull up this thing, but yeah, I mean that would be crazy if she came in and gave Cyborg a running, but. We've seen worse.
I want to see Cyborg and Kayla, man. I'm not gonna lie. I want to see that fight. All right, I want to ask you this one too. It seems like
who'd you pick right now if you had to pick right now?
I'd take Kayla.
So would I.
Yeah, I'd take Kayla.
How crazy is that? 3 years ago, it would have been without a doubt. I'm like, oh, Cyborg all day long.
Yep.
But I mean, like, what the work Kayla's been able to do. If anybody still doubts her and thinks that. It's because of where she's fighting or whatever. No. You're absolutely crazy.
Could she get clipped on the feet? Absolutely, she can get clipped on the feet. She is not as good of a striker as Chris Cyborg.
But her chin's pristine.
Yep.
Nobody's hitting her chin.
So true.
Except for like training.
So true.
Like nobody in their fights are hitting her.
So true. So true. I want to see it. All right, here's what I want to ask you about, because it seems like every single week I see the growing hysteria around the fact that Conor McGregor has not been tested by USADA this entire year. And people are just up in arms about it and wondering what the hell is going on. And I see a lot of it. Now, obviously, I don't really pay too much attention to it, but people are like, oh, the media is not asking. Well, first of all, can we just get that? The media has asked. Unfortunately, there's the only person that can answer anything about it is Conor McGregor, and he's not talking about it. But the UFC won't talk about it. USADA won't talk about it. They don't talk about who's in the testing pool. They don't talk about who's not in the testing pool. They don't talk about why somebody has been tested, why somebody hasn't been tested, all those things. But people are up in arms about this. And I kind of understand why, but I kind of don't, because the man's not fighting right now. And I'm just going to say, this is my personal. I My personal belief is that right now, Conor McGregor is not eligible for testing, whether that be because he filed a retirement, whether that be I don't know of any.
He hasn't finished his testosterone cycle
Yeah,
yet.
I don't know. Well, listen, I don't know of any. I don't know that you can just get like a temporary exemption for not being tested. I mean, look, what I'm trying to say is, I don't believe it's an accident or an oversight. Like, I don't believe that anybody is sitting around the USADA offices going like, "Oh, have we not tested? Weren't you supposed to test Conor? Who do we have in charge of testing Conor? Where's it?
Maybe there's a what do you call it? If you're on holiday, you get an exception. He's like, bro, I'm nonstop on holiday traveling. You'd have to find me in Abu Dhabi, but I might not be in Abu Dhabi, bro.
I'm gonna preface this by saying that this is all opinion because again, nobody will talk about this, but there's no way in hell it's an accident that he hasn't been tested. But here's what people need to be looking for: is that when he does finally book a fight again, whenever that may be, does he or does he not have a 6-month history of testing? Because that is the requirement of people that retire and then get back into the system, right? So that's the whole Mark Hunt situation, right? Well, not really the Mark Hunt situation. I guess I should call it the Brock Lesnar situation. But that was the thing that he was involved in, is that newcomers get a waiver of that because if you had to have 6 months of testing in the USADA program, there would never be late notice newcomers to the UFC, right? That would be impossible. And obviously, like during the pandemic era, that would have been insanely ridiculous. But even now, late notice newcomers are needed. So it's understandable that there is a waiver for newcomers. But the whole situation is if you leave the testing pool, you have to come back in it for 6 months. So I guess what I'm trying to tell people is I don't believe there's a reason to be up in arms. I do believe there are some administrative things happening behind the scenes that we unfortunately have not been shared the details of because the policy says that nobody will talk about it. But the key thing to witness moving forward is once he fights, does he end up with 6 months of testing or not? And look, I think it's an interesting discussion, too, to say, a guy that's experiencing the type of injury that he had and needs to come back. I mean, this is a whole different lengthy-ass argument, but, like, is it okay if they get out of the testing pool and just take whatever they need to rebuild their body for a little while? Maybe they need a little something that's not exactly USADA approved to help them get back to normal. I always said, look,
don't they do that? You file the medical exemptions, right?
Yeah, but I don't think you can get like if it's a true like just anabolic steroid or something like that. Like you can't get a medical exemption.
There's got to be a
like
real
that.
Reason for it.
Yeah. But you're right. You could. Yeah, you can absolutely get some exemptions if certain things are right. But like I always used to say,
I twisted my ankle. I went on straight testosterone.
Yeah, that's fine, bro. Like I had a minor sprain, so I just figured HGH was the way to go. You know what I mean? Like I always said, like when Anderson Silva came back, when he broke his leg, like if Anderson Silva when he came back had just been like, if he'd have literally just been like, guys, I'm sorry, I'm 40 years old, I broke my leg, I was afraid.
my leg in half.
Yeah, I took some shit I shouldn't have been taking, and I'm sorry, I've never done it before, I'll never do it again.
It's not normal. It's not normal. People would have been cool with it because like, bro, yeah, we saw you break your leg in half.
Well, all right, we get it.
That was so fucking gross.
Shame on you. Don't do it again.
Don't do it again.
So anyway, I guess what I'm saying is, look, we're probably not going to find out all of what's happening here, but what I would say is understand the policies that are in place. What you need to be looking for when he comes back is do you see 6 months worth of testing history? And if so, then it really doesn't matter that he's not tested this entire time. Whether or not it's okay or not, it really doesn't matter.
But then that being them having to say, yes, he tested, but for some reason you didn't release that information onto the site with everybody else?
No.
Or are you saying like he fight and then 6 months after that?
No, I'm saying like you're going to have to like let's say
he has to have 6 months prior to his fight time.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So if right now they're like, hey guys, this is amazing. Conor McGregor is coming back in December, we got a problem.
Yeah.
Because what I'm saying is if you see his first test show up, because they're not going to hold it. They're not going to hold his test back. No.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, yes, before he fights, we need to see 6 months. So,
right.
Yeah, if they announce a fight and it's 3 months from now and there's no testing history, now we got a problem. Now we call shenanigans, and now we get up in arms with USADA, and now we get up in arms with UFC and find out what the hell's going on. But as long as there is 6 months of testing between, prior to his next fight, then really no policies. I don't think there's any reason for concern.
Yeah, I agree. Because then at that point, it could have been like he was maybe on the fence of retirement, just didn't actually. And then they're like, USADA, it's fine, whatever, as long as he does. Because you're right. If there's a threshold that needs to be met to make sure that no shenanigans and that he's already getting a lot of favoritism. But if there's one thing that I would think to say that the playing field's equal for everybody. It's that 6 months
That's
beforehand.
it.
You got to be on there. You got to go.
He could be retired.
Don't hide it. Don't fight, and then all of a sudden we see 6 months all of a sudden show up. Like that would be shady.
We need to see a test show up.
Yeah.
And then I would say if they announce a fight and there's no test that showed up yet, and that fight is in less than 6 months. Now, if they announce a fight and it's a year away, not a problem. But if they announce a fight with no testing history, we got a problem. Because that's the whole thing is right now. And again, I can't say factually this is what happened, but if he's filed his paperwork that he's retired, he could take whatever the hell he wants.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so if he and there's nothing you can do about it. That's within the guidelines. And now if you want to say that, well, I don't like that guideline, I think that needs to be changed, that's a whole different argument. But as things stand right now, exactly what you said. It can't show up in the system later. It can't be like all of a sudden we see a post-dated test or anything like that.
Even though we check it every week.
It must have been a caching issue on your end, right?
You didn't clear your browser cache.
Did you not clear your browser cache? That's definitely on you. We've had this here the whole time.
That's funny. That's funny.
Man. So anyway, I wanted to address that and give my opinion on what people need to be tracking and what you need to be looking for.
Yeah.
Hey, last thing, real quick.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
That I want to throw out that our boy Mark Fellows reached out. We want to give a shout out to Mark Fellows because he's completed 2 of his rounds of chemo. He's got 4 more to go as his next one starting later on in August.
Oh man,
so
that's good.
Definitely give him a shout out. But that being said, he sent a message. He's like, have you recorded yet? He said, if not, he got a question on Patreon, and I think I posted you because I have no clue. He says he wants to know what's really going on at One in terms of their finances. I find the whole thing bizarre and difficult to comprehend. I'm not quite sure. I don't keep up with like newsy stuff on stuff like that. That's more your avenue, but I will toss it to you.
One Championship has been phenomenal at raising money. They have not been phenomenal at turning a profit with that money. They have posted some significant losses. Now, there's some very, if you really dig into it, there's some questions about, where are holdings done and where is money placed and all those things. But the bottom line is One is not a profitable entity at this time. And that's why they're hoping that things like this Amazon Prime Video will do that. They definitely plan on doing an event in the United States in 2023. And they are hoping that this will be what kind of guides them to profitability.
Yeah.
And look, they got a long way to go. I really do believe, and again,
I mean, they put on a good product.
I think One Championship is in a better position right now than they've ever been. I think the way that they finally come upon this concept of, we're going to do Muay Thai, we're going to do kickboxing, we're going to do submission grappling.
It's pretty cool.
I think it's really cool because, and the other thing it really, really does is they're no longer stuck, trying to find, these martial artists that, it's tough. There's only so many top tier MMA fighters to go around. Like if you're going to brand yourself as a premier organization, there's not that many premier athletes. Now, obviously, you get a Demetrius Johnson. Well, hell yeah, Demetrius Johnson is still top level. You know what I mean? But you can't get – there's only so many of those you can bring over, right? But now you can get the absolute best Muay Thai fighters in the world, the absolute best kickboxers in the world, the absolute best submission grapplers in the world, and you can feature them. So now I don't need to have quite as many mixed martial artists, but I've got these martial artists from different disciplines that are real amazing at what they do. So I think their format structure is great. The other thing I really like about One right now is, again, the Prime Video thing because, dude, it's just bottom line is for years their cards have been at like 4 a.m. on a Friday.
Right.
Ain't nobody watching that. And as we've all seen it, even if you're like, well, you could always watch it back or what, nobody does that. I
can never find myself watching it.
I can't either. I can't do it either. Even when I watch on the rare occasions that like I miss a UFC event or something like that, I mean, I'll watch it back, but I'm like skipping through everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, 'cause you're not going to watch the show. You're not going to watch the big entrance. You're not going to get the setup. You're not going to get the feel. You're literally just going to watch ding, right? and what happens. So I think they're in a good position. But bottom line is, for years, they have been great at raising money, and they have partnered themselves and aligned themselves with some top brands all over. And Chatri Sityodtong has been great at that, but they have not been good at making money. And that's where they're I think hoping this big push into the United States with live events and getting on. And I mean, imagine. So right now, this Prime Video deal is only North America, right? It's only U.S. and Canada. But it sounds like everybody's happy with the deal. And what if they end up taking that thing global? Or what if, what if...
And the product's solid. I mean, I haven't had any issues when I watch it on the streaming. I mean, it was solid. So I mean, that's usually where there's like hiccup where somebody tries to go on their own and they try to start up a new streaming thing, and there's always something wrong with the platform. I didn't experience any issues when I watched it, so that's good on them.
There's and you know, and again, it may not be Prime Video. What if it's Apple comes in and Apple wants to distribute them all over the world? And that is the thing about global streaming right now is you have to remember, man. You know, there's 200 different markets. You can sign 200 different TV deals. And boy, there is this other thing. I wish I had the name of the company in front of me right now. We were talking about this the other day. This technology, the UFC is partnering with this firm, and I wish I had the name of it. They sent out a press release, and obviously, like, not many people saw it. They had been talking about it forever. The Fertitta brothers had talked about it years and years, but I guess now it's finally reality, where they have this company that can help them change the advertising that's on the canvas, market to market to market to market, and it's just like digitally edited in real time, so that they can sell. You think about it, that same spot on the canvas, that actual real estate, they can sell it in like 200 different markets to 200 different people. I mean, that's crazy, man.
That's pretty cool.
Think about the amount of. I mean, people might be like, "Oh, well, that's great. Pay the fighters more." I mean, I get it, but I'm just saying from a running a business perspective and finding more ways to bring in income. Just think about that. Now you got somebody that can help you sell that same part on the canvas.
4D site?
That might be it. Is that what it is?
I think so. Well, I just pulled up and it said taking live sports advertising, leveraging 4D site technology to showcase different types of ad during live stream matches. It might be
Pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah, but that's pretty cool.
It's insane. So that's where they are.
Well, I hope that answered your question, Mark. But
and more importantly, Mark, I'm glad to know that things are going well, man.
Yeah.
We hate to hear the battles that you're going through, man. So it's awesome to hear that things are positive, at least for the time being, man. That's awesome.
Yes, he was having some. He saved a frosty beverage for this show, so that's good.
Ooh,
Getting
that's
back
what
to
I'm
normal.
Yeah, getting back to normal if you can have a frosty beverage. That's what I like to hear. So
Even though we're not having any frosty beverages.
no, I got to take my kid to jiu-jitsu. He's got a tournament on Sunday that I'm going to miss because I'm going to be flying back. But honestly, man, I'm kind of glad I'm missing it, if I'm being honest with you, man. I love being with him at practice every day. God, I think I'm more tense for his competitions. It's just a damn jiu-jitsu match.
Yeah.
I think because you want him to win every match, and that's hard. You know what I mean? He's not BJ Penn out here like the prodigy. He's working hard. But
I imagine it's like that for every sport with your kid, whether it be baseball, basketball, or whatever.
But again, basketball, soccer, baseball. We lost the game, but my kid played good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Jiu-jitsu, like. My kid just got choked out. You know what I mean? And it's the high, bro. I'm telling you right now, if anybody has never been to a youth grappling tournament, whether it be wrestling, whether it be jiu-jitsu, whether it be it is the most intense shit because first of all, you got the parents who I try to just sit there and keep my mouth shut, right? Like I try to just.
Do they ever say, "Hey, are you that guy?"
Oh yeah. Especially in the I mean, so they're like, so I try to just sit there with my mouth shut because I'm not trying to raise a world champion jiu-jitsu player.
You're gonna put a bullseye on his back.
Exactly. So I just sit there and shut up and stay quiet. But the parents, man, like. Dude, my wife almost got in some scraps a couple times, man. Oh, bro, she's a fiery Mexican, bro. She doesn't stay quiet like I do. But the other thing is, dude, is kids, man, like the win and the loss. Like, bro, there are more tears at a youth grappling tournament than it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, and you're trying to tell them like. Dude, don't worry about it, man. Like, you went out there and busted your ass. Like, you're out here competing, which 99% of the world will never know what it feels like to step on a mat. You know, but it's the highs and the lowest of the lows, man. It's tough. So I'm gonna be honest. I'm sad that I'm missing it, but I'm kind of also really glad that I'm missing it because it's I can't do it. I can't take it. I can't take it. Oh, so the reason I'm missing it, CFFC 113. I was gonna wrap up. Make sure Saturday night 8 p.m. Eastern. On UFC Fight Pass, Greg Velasco and Kevin Sears in the main event. The vacant the vacant heavyweight title, I should say, is on the line. Jamel Jones was our champ, and he signed with PFL. So now that belt is on the line. Santo Curatolo was back, of course. He had a very disappointing loss last time out. You know, he's vying for the interim flyweight title. And suffered a shocking loss there. So he's back trying to rebuild on that. And, it's always fun. And my man CM Punk can't do it. But guess who I'm getting to call fights with?
Who?
Joe Pyfer.
No.
Yeah, man, the man of the hour who picked
up. It'd be nice to be Joe Pyfer.
Picked up a win at CFFC, then went on to the Contender Series, won there, and has since won in the UFC. And now he's coming back to CFFC. And I may not get to be Joe Pyfer, but I get to be beside him.
Get to be with Joe
Get
Piper.
to be with Joe Pyfer on Saturday
That's
night.
cool.
So
Good
tune
for
in
him.
for that on UFC Fight Pass. There's no other
I think
MMA.
I gotta
So
kind of go fine. You seem to have a really fun personality.
I think so too. Yeah, I think he'll do a good job. I know he's excited to do it. And he's got a fun personality, like you said, and the way if you watch the CFFC broadcast, I mean, I think we try to
Pretty
keep
loose.
it. Yeah, we try to keep it professional, but we also try to keep it
Yeah.
loose and have fun. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like we're not trying to be buttoned up.
I mean, you
This-
have a suit
this
top.
is a professional-
People don't know, but John's got a suit top, but he's got shorts on underneath
Just
it.
khaki shorts, bro.
Khaki shorts.
I do
wear
wear
shirt.
I do wear tennis shoes rather than dress
Oh,
shoes.
you rebel!
Yeah, and
Look at you.
my wife makes fun of me. She's like, "That just looks terrible." I'm like, "Well, nobody sees it, so who cares?"
A lot of people do that.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you're gonna be sitting there and you're gonna move around, or you're gonna be comfortable. You're gonna be sitting there for hours and hours.
What do I need dress shoes on for?
Ah, pff. Or pants.
Or pants. You know what? I might go for it. I love the grappling events when I do get to wear shorts. Those are the best. All right, listen. If you like what you listen to, even though it was more non-MMA than MMA this week, you get that on a weekend
On the
like this.
weather here in Vegas.
Make sure you rate us, review us, and if you want to step your game up to the next level, patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow. We always do appreciate the support over there. And, no and a half this weekend because there's no UFC, but we'll bring it back next week, of course. And, in the meantime, enjoy your rare weekend off from Major MMA, except for make sure you tune into CFFC. And, of course, more importantly, just thanks for listening.
We'll be right back.